Have you ever heard of a man who could feel the pulse of the market? A man who saw numbers not just as figures, but as a story waiting to be told. Today, we're diving into the incredible life of Jesse Livermore, the legendary stock trader who danced with bulls and bears like no one else. This isn't just a story about money. It's a story about genius, obsession, and the thin line between triumph and ruin. Our story begins in 1891. Imagine a 14-year-old boy, Jesse Livermore, with nothing but $5 in his pocket and a burning desire to escape a life of endless toil on his family's corn farm. He runs away to the bustling city of Boston, a world away from the quiet fields he knew. He lands a job, not as a trader, but as a humble, bored boy in a stock brokerage firm. His task? To chalk up the ever-changing stock prices on a massive blackboard. Most would see this as a tedious chore, but Jesse saw something different. He saw patterns. He saw a rhythm in the chaos of numbers flying across the ticker tape. He started scribbling these patterns into a little notebook, testing his theories, not with real money, but with the power of his mind. He wasn't just copying numbers. He was decoding the market's secret language. At just 16, he placed his first real bet based on his calculations and walked away with a profit. For Jesse, it was never just about the money. It was about being right. It was about proving he was the smartest person in the room, smarter than Wall Street itself. This early success earned him the nickname the Boy Plunger and ignited a lifelong obsession. As the world plunged into the chaos of World War I in 1914, America was transforming. The nation was becoming a global financial powerhouse, and Wall Street was the engine of this new prosperity. Jesse Livermore rode this wave of change, making and losing fortunes at a dizzying pace. His incredible intuition was on full display in 1906. Sensing a catastrophe was imminent, he shorted the market just before the devastating San Francisco earthquake, netting a massive profit while the city crumbled. But this incredible high was followed by a crushing low. Within just 2 years, he lost everything. This wasn't a one-time event, it became the rhythm of his life. A cycle of spectacular wins followed by catastrophic losses. He would build an empire of wealth, only to see it turn to dust again and again. For most, this would be a deterrent. For Jesse, it was an addiction. The thrill of the risk, the validation of being right, was a drug more potent than any other. Each failure was just a lesson, a puzzle to be solved before the next big play. He was learning, adapting, and honing his instincts in the crucible of financial warfare. By 1917, Jesse was a millionaire many times over. He married Dorothy Wendt, a beautiful dancer from the Ziegfeld Follies, and built a lavish estate named Evermore on Long Island, complete with a fleet of staff and Rolls-Royces. On the surface, he had it all, but his heart and soul were never truly at home. They belonged to the relentless, unforgiving rhythm of the ticker tape. His true passion, his greatest love affair, was with the market. He was a master of its game, but a stranger in his own life. The 1920s arrived with a roar. It was a decade of jazz, flappers, and unprecedented prosperity. A new kind of fever swept across America. Stock market fever. Everyone, from the shoeshine boy to the factory worker, was playing the market. The magic words were margin buying, which allowed ordinary people to buy stocks with borrowed money, fueling an unprecedented bubble. It seemed like the party would never end. The market only went up, and everyone believed they were a genius. But Jesse Livermore saw something else. He saw a house of cards waiting for a gust of wind. While the masses were caught in a speculative frenzy, Jesse was quietly building his own private intelligence network. Imagine this: a secret operation of 60 researchers scattered around the globe, feeding him real-time data, not just on stocks, but on commodities, crop yields, and economic policies. He wasn't guessing. He was gathering evidence. He was preparing for a war he knew was coming, a war against the entire American establishment and its blind optimism. He was a lone wolf, trusting no one but his own analysis and the cold, hard facts. The summer of 1929. The party on Wall Street is at its peak. The champagne is flowing and stock prices are soaring to dizzying, irrational heights. But in his quiet office, surrounded by charts and data, Jesse Livermore saw the writing on the wall. His meticulous analysis revealed a terrifying disconnect. Stock prices were completely unmoored from the actual earnings of the companies they represented. The foundation was rotten. While the rest of America danced on the edge of a cliff, Jesse began to make his move. Quietly, methodically, he started to build one of the largest short positions in history. He was betting against everything. Against the roaring economy, against the government's reassurances, against the dreams of millions of Americans. It was the ultimate contrarian play, a bet that the entire system was about to collapse. As he orchestrated this monumental financial maneuver, his personal life was imploding. His marriage to Dorothy was disintegrating under the weight of her drinking and his own emotional distance. The storm clouds gathering over Wall Street were mirrored by the storm brewing within the walls of his own home. He was a man standing utterly alone, poised on the brink of his greatest triumph and his deepest personal tragedy. The stage was set for the crash that would change the world forever. Thank you so much for watching. The story of Jesse Livermore is a powerful reminder of the complexities of genius and the human cost of ambition. Ever heard the saying, "Be careful what you wish for"? For one man, the greatest financial victory of his life became the very thing that destroyed him. This is the story of Jesse Livermore's Black Tuesday triumph and his tragic fall. Let's rewind to the Roaring Twenties. The stock market was a party, and everyone was invited. But Jesse Livermore saw something others didn't. He saw a bubble, stretched to its absolute limit, ready to burst. While others were buying, he was quietly, meticulously building a massive short position. He was betting against America, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. Then came the day that would live in infamy. October 29th, 1929. Black Tuesday. As Wall Street descended into pure chaos and fortunes vanished in the blink of an eye, Livermore's phone rang off the hook. His brokers were frantic, but he remained calm. He knew his moment had arrived. The market didn't just dip, it plummeted. It was a complete and utter collapse. When the dust settled, Jesse Livermore had made a staggering $100 million. That's over $1.5 billion in today's money. In a single day, he became one of the wealthiest men in the world. He bought a 14-bedroom mansion, a private yacht, and even his own private railway car. He was living a life most people could only dream of, a testament to his genius and his iron nerve. He was the king of Wall Street, but as the saying goes, heavy is the head that wears the crown. As America sank into the Great Depression, with millions losing their jobs, their homes, and their life savings, Livermore's immense fortune became a symbol of their suffering. He wasn't seen as a brilliant trader anymore. He was branded the Great Bear of Wall Street, a villain who had profited from the nation's misery. The public's admiration turned to pure hatred. The press vilified him. Strangers spat his name like a curse. The threats started pouring in, letters filled with rage, promising revenge. His family was no longer safe. The man who had conquered the market now lived in fear. He had to hire armed bodyguards to protect himself and his children, turning his luxurious home into a fortress. He had won the financial game, but he had lost the peace he craved. The weight of being America's most hated man began to crush him. And if things were bad outside his mansion, they were even worse inside. You'd think a $100 million fortune could solve any problem, but it couldn't fix his crumbling marriage. His wife, Dorothy, or Dotsy as she was known, struggled with her own demons. Her drinking spiraled out of control, and the once happy couple drifted apart, their relationship poisoned by arguments and infidelity. The vast wealth that should have brought them closer only seemed to push them further away. In 1932, the inevitable happened. they divorced. Livermore was alone again, surrounded by riches but starved of genuine connection. Just as his personal life was imploding, the world he knew so well, the stock market, was changing beneath his feet. In response to the crash, President Franklin D. Roosevelt's New Deal brought sweeping reforms. The Securities and Exchange Commission, the SEC, was created. New rules were put in place to prevent the kind of speculative frenzy that led to the crash. For Livermore, these new regulations were like changing the rules in the middle of the game. His entire strategy was built on reading the tape, sensing the market's psychology, and exploiting its irrational moves. He thrived in a wild, unregulated environment. But this new, more structured market baffled him. The patterns he had mastered for decades no longer worked. His feel for the market, his almost supernatural intuition, was gone. He started making bad trades, then more bad trades. The man who could once predict the market's every move was now consistently on the losing side. His massive fortune began to dwindle. He tried to stage a comeback, doubling down, chasing his losses, the classic mistakes he always warned others against. But his magic was gone. By 1934, the unthinkable happened. Jesse Livermore, the man who had made and lost fortunes multiple times, declared bankruptcy for the fourth and final time. The $100 million was gone, all of it. He was back to square one, but this time, he was older, exhausted, and the market was a stranger to him. Just when it seemed things couldn't get any worse, a tragedy struck that would shatter what little spirit he had left. In 1935, his ex-wife, Dotsy, in a drunken argument, accidentally shot their son, Jesse Jr. The boy survived, but the incident was a devastating blow. The guilt, the public scandal, the horror of it all, it was too much. For a father who had already lost everything else, this was the final, unbearable heartbreak. It destroyed any remaining faith he had in a life that had once seemed so full of promise. The next few years were a slow, painful descent into despair. Livermore was a ghost haunting Wall Street, a living legend who had become a cautionary tale. He was adrift, unable to trade, and haunted by his past glories and present failures. The man who once commanded the respect and fear of the entire financial world was now a broken figure. Then, on the afternoon of November 28, 1940, in the cloakroom of the Sherry Netherland Hotel in Manhattan, the fight finally went out of him. Jesse Livermore, the boy plunger, the great bear of Wall Street, took his own life. In his pocket, the police found a small leather-bound notebook. On one of the pages, he had written his final, heartbreaking message. It read, "My dear Nina, can't help it. Things have been bad with me. I am tired of fighting. Can't carry on any longer. This is the only way out. I am unworthy of your love. I am a failure. I am truly sorry. But this is the only way out for me. Love, Lori." Jesse Livermore's life is a powerful, tragic story. He achieved a level of financial success that is almost impossible to comprehend, but it brought him no lasting happiness. His story serves as a stark reminder that wealth can't buy peace of mind, and success in the market is no substitute for a life of meaning and connection. It teaches us that the highest highs can sometimes lead to the lowest lows. Thank you so much for watching. If this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the lives of fascinating historical figures. We'll see you in the next video.